Hello, this is Kevin with Bangert Inc. And today we're going to talk about the Sage 100 and interfacing that with the eTakeoff. So eTakeoff is a program that lets you open up PDF files and image files and do takeoff and bring those numbers back into your Sage Estimating 100. There's been a couple sessions before this where we've talked about how to start a project, how to measure linear footages, how to measure areas, and so forth. So in this session, we're going to focus on how do I actually do counts. And I'm not going to focus too much on like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and just clicking on things because I figure that's easy enough. But what I want to focus on is eTakeoff has a very, very powerful feature that can actually go through and do a search for a particular symbol. So that way I can actually say, go look for all the windows and have the system go through and find it. And it's quite a bit more powerful than a lot of the other products out there. So let's get started. So there's my my Sage 100. And I'm going to also bring eTakeoff up. And I want to go to something that has a floor plan here. And I'm going to set the scale. So in this case here, I'm going to grab my bird's eye view and drop it down here. So it looks like I'm looking at a 1/4 inch. So we're just going to set the scale for 1/4 inch, even though I'm just measuring square footage. Counting stuff, it won't be needed, but at least we'll have the scale set. And if you notice in this particular image, I've got these window references where I've got some window A's and G's and some more G's and so forth going along. So what I want to do is I want to look for this symbol and actually do the takeoff associated with these windows. We're going to use the count to do that and so forth. And if I use count, I could go through there and say 1 and 2, and if those were the same ones, I just go through and click, and pretty basic and a type of thing. But what I want to focus on here is I want to really focus on something under drawing where I can actually search for a symbol or that type of an object and so forth. So the first thing I have to do is I have to set up where is my searchable area. So I'm going to click on this icon here. I'm going to tell it some sort of description for this. So this is my first floor in this case. And then I'm going to draw a box around something that's wide enough to incorporate all these little symbols that I'm looking for and so forth. So I'm going to kind of come out here a little bit of a ways. And when you do this, you don't want to go too far out if you know that there's nothing up at the top. It's just cause it to have to look through more stuff. And you don't want to necessarily include things like your some of your legends and references and stuff like that, because there's no sense in searching through that content for it. So there's my basic search area. And if I click off of it, it'll basically turn it off, or I could turn it back on if I wanted to kind of confirm, did I get that box big enough for my search area and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and focus back on the bottom here a little bit for this symbol. So I want to go off and do this start and resume. And this will let me go ahead and draw a picture around what I want it to look for. So in this case here, I'm doing a count. I'm going to change it up a little bit. So I'm going to say that I'm going to start with Windows, type A. And a red dot is fine for now. So how much, what's the percentage of how close it has to be? So if I said something like 100%, probably wouldn't find them all because it'd have to be in a very, very exact match. Versus if I said something like, 50%, I'd probably end up with a lot of, things that resemble a straight line, but not necessarily the same as this little diamond shape and so forth. I'm going to have it search through all 4 rotations. Probably isn't critical in this because it is something that, would be the same symbol in all 4 rotations. But a lot of times this is very handy when I'm looking for a symbol. So that way, if it's on the print in a different orientation, it can find it. Over here on the right side, you can tell it what pages to look through. And this is one of the things that's very, very powerful with this product is I can actually go through multiple pages at the same time. So if this was a 3-story building, I could say, look through the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd floor all at the same time. The entire project, probably not, because I don't want to look through all the spec or all the other information for it possibly. So maybe if I look for a reference, maybe. But in this case, I'm just going to stick with my 1st floor. And then the other thing I want to do is I'm going to go up to this magnifying glass up here and get that a little bit bigger on the screen. Because what I want to do is most products will search for that symbol. But most products find a whole bunch of other things that are very similar, but not quite the same. And I'm going to purposely kind of use that as my advantage for this product. So in this product, I want to kind of focus more on just this diamond shape instead of the A in the middle. So I'm actually going to hit this white space pencil or So I can actually come back and actually erase this out. So that way it doesn't focus on that part of the symbol as much as I'm really wanting to focus on that particular type of a symbol is what this project used quite a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and hit search here. And what that's going to do is down here in the background, it's going to go off and start searching through that page for whatever it can find. Now, the other thing that's very powerful about this product is I could come back and actually start searching for other things if I wanted to at the same time. So I could go back and say, okay, I want to search for a square box, or maybe I want to start search for a circle for some reason, because a lot of my circles might refer to doors or something of that nature. So, if I wanted to go ahead and do something like that, I might zoom in on one of these a little bit. And if I wanted to go through and say, okay, here, let's do another search area on this object here, and same type of thing, I might do, a circle probably don't need to have all 4 rotations. So I might go in and say, take out the reference out of the center. Now, you could also be measuring linear footages, square footages, those other types of things as it's doing the search in the background. So, it's still looking for those windows as I'm cleaning this up. So there again, I could call this first floor is what I'm going to do my search on. Maybe I'm going to call most of those circles, I think in this particular case, were some sort of doors. So, there might be different styles of doors or something like that. So I'm going to just say door A, and maybe I'm going to go ahead and call it something different than red, since I've already used red on that other one. And let's say search and see what it can find. So now I've got, multiple searches going through the background. So this symbol represents that it's still searching. It's found 21 objects so far. As I'm going through there, it will change from this symbol that you used up here to a magnifying glass when it actually gets done. So here in a moment, I'll get about done with this thing. So now it's changed to binoculars, so it's actually done. It's found 21 different objects. So I'm going to double click on it and open it up and see what all the different things were that it found. So I'll find some things that if I was looking for window A, I'll see spot on. Those are all A's. But I might also see some B's and G's and C's and other things that don't relate to what I was really looking at. And sometimes maybe, maybe the orientation or something's a little questionable that I don't see enough to really help me decide which one it really is or is it due. So the other thing that's pretty cool about this product is you can actually say you want to review it on the drawing, and this will show you where it's found all those different objects. So if I knew I was looking for an A and I'm looking at this and say, well, that's not really an A, or that's not really an A, I could still come back here and actually uncheck them from here if I wanted to. If I wanted to look at, oh, well, shoot, that got off on the legend or picked up something else I wasn't interested in. And then when I come back to review, you notice that basically it's going to tell me, those 2 are not, or those 3 are not included at the moment. So I'm just going to go back through here and kind of take these a little faster. So it looks like all those are, that one's not, no, 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 no. So maybe that's all my A's. So in most other products, you'd go ahead and do something, somewhat similar. You'd have to wait on it for do the search. You couldn't do other searches at the same time. You couldn't do takeoff at the same time. You'd be sitting there waiting on it to get done with the search. And then once you pick, which ones were really the ones you want and you accept it, it'd be done. You'd have to turn around and search for a B or a C or whatever else if there was things that were very similar symbols like what I did here. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and hit save and continue. And what that's going to let it do is it's going to go ahead and log my Windows A that there were 6 of them. But it's also going to leave all the other things that it found up on the screen. So I could come back without having to wait on another search. And I could say, well, wait a second. Those other symbols were my window B. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I want those to be yellow. And what is Windows B's? Well, none of this stuff looks like a window B. So I'm going to go ahead and just turn all that off at the moment. I'm going to save and continue. I'm going to go ahead and edit it again. And it looks like I've got, quite a few G's in front of me. So I might even skip and jump to G for a moment. And let's say that I'm going to just keep working my way across the color bar there at the moment. So what looks like a G? So those are probably G's. That's not. So it looks like I'm getting kind of down to the bottom of the list here. So that's all my G's. So I'm going to save and continue there. And then the last batch of them, it looks like are all C's. So I could go ahead and say C's. And again, let's pick a different color. And at this point, I'm going to hit just save because I have nothing else in the window. So instead of having to do a search on every single image one by one, That's really powerful if you've got some sort of a common symbol like that that you could look for and then just kind of classify them of, okay, all those were C's or all these were at A or a G or whatever the case is. So a very, very powerful way. Working with a client the other day, we went through and we're looking for like marker boards and just different things of that nature that has a unique enough symbol that it's pretty powerful to be able to go off and just, yep, you go find them anywhere on this project. And then, there's my takeoff of all these quantities. So then the next thing I want to take a look at is I want to get these quantities back into my 100, and I want to do them faster than what we did before. So before we went through and we did some takeoff and we right clicked and told it to get a quantity out of takeoff, and then in takeoff we right clicked and told it to send the value back to my estimate and so forth. So in this case, I'm going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to go ahead and bring up a view that is my measurement list. So here's all my measurement of those windows that I've got. 6 of those, 1 of those, 7, so on and so forth. So I'm going to go ahead and move this around. I'm going to bring my 100 back to the front ground. So there was the takeoff screen from before. Now, if you notice, if I had this maximized, I can't see my measurements in the background. If I click on my measurements and actually tell it to float this window, that would actually allow me to click over here and actually be moving things around in my takeoff, and this screen will stay on the screen at all times also. So that just kind of makes it handier for navigating that little float window. So I'm going to go ahead and click on my first one, hold my shift key down, click on my last one. I'm going to drag and drop those over here to my estimating. And there I have very quickly put all those 4 windows in my estimate with the matter of a drag and a drop. So there's each one of my quantities. Also, they're linked. So if I came back and added any more quantities, I could tell it to update quantities and be up to date. If these were items that were actually in my database, I could actually go and look at my parts list and actually pick something from my database. So I might come in here and say, maybe I've got some sort of windows and a particular window. So I could come on down through here and I don't know. Let's say that's don't really matter. Let's say it's a 1x2 window or whatever it may be. I pick it. It would actually replace the description with what my part is in my estimating product, keep my quantity, put my money in. Or these could be products that I just don't have parts for either. And I could come over here and just say, well, that window there is actually a $75 window and so forth, and actually get my quantities pretty darn quick. So I'm going to unfloat this window so that way I can minimize and get it out of my way, hit my calculate button, it'll do my extensions and, get everything up to date. So very, very powerful, more powerful than any other product I've seen for searches, in the fashion that you can go off and look for a symbol and then classify these are A's and B's and all this different thing. It also very powerful in the fact that you can grab so many different items and drop right into your estimate to get those quantities over to your estimate from, the takeoff into my Sage 100. That pretty much concludes the session for today. If there's anything that we can help out with, please reach out to our coordination team so we can get the right person in touch with you. Also, we're creating as much content as quick as we can on different topics just like this is. So make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can stay on top of any new content. Also subscribe to our Buildcast program if you're interested in podcasts about construction tech and technology. And if you're interested more in products and so forth in different classes to learn more about products that you already have or interested in, please check out our website, webinar/classes. All the classes are free that you can basically attend at any time to get more information. Thank you for your time.